At 6:07, the car sat quiet at the edge of the driveway. The engine was off, but the day had not fully stopped. A few cars kept passing on the street. Somewhere inside the house, a sound moved and faded, the small familiar noise of people already living in the next part of the evening. The assistant manager sat behind the wheel for one extra minute, car keys resting in one hand, seatbelt still across the chest. Nothing special happened there. No one could see how much had been carried from the store, from the closing checklist, from the last customer, from the thought of what still waited inside. The whole household was on the other side of the driveway, and the workday was still loosening its grip. Then the seatbelt clicked softly. For a moment, that was enough. Just the keys, just the quiet, just the small mercy of not moving right away. The first minute in the driveway does not always look like rest from the outside. It can look like forgetting something. It can look like checking a message, or listening to the end of a song, or sitting there because the body has not caught up with the hand that already turned the engine off. The street keeps moving as if nothing has happened. A neighbor's car passes. A delivery truck slows, then goes on. The late light touches the windshield and makes the dust show for a second before it disappears again. Inside the parked car, the assistant manager keeps one hand around the keys. They are not heavy, but they hold so many small crossings. The store door, the office door, the back room where the deposit bag was checked twice, the front door waiting only a few yards away. Keys can seem like such a practical thing, until evening comes and they become the quiet proof that one part of the day has closed and another one is asking to begin. There was probably no grand ending to the shift. Just the ordinary kind. A few final words to the crew. A look down the aisles. Someone's schedule question answered near the registers. The lights lowered in certain corners of the store. A cart left where it should not have been. The kind of small unfinished things that follow a person even after the doors are locked. Then traffic. Then the road home. Then the driveway. And now this small pause, too plain to announce. The seatbelt rests across the chest a little longer than it needs to. The phone might be in the cup holder, screen dark. A receipt from lunch or gas may be folded near the gear shift. The car smells faintly like outside air, work clothes, and the stale warmth that builds up when someone has spent the day going from one task to another without much room between them. Nothing asks for gratitude yet. That may be why it can arrive. Not as a bright feeling, not as a thought that tries to make the whole day look better than it was, just a small mercy, almost hidden inside the ordinary shape of the car. The mercy of being stopped. The mercy of not being needed for one breath. The mercy of holding the keys and not yet opening the next door. On the other side of the windshield, the house is close enough to see in detail. Maybe a curtain moves. Maybe the porch light has come on early, though the sky is not fully dark. Maybe there is the dim shape of a room where someone has already turned on a lamp. It is not a perfect house. It is not waiting with everything clean and settled and gentle. It is simply the place where more of life is kept. Bills may be on the counter. Dinner may be half planned. Someone may ask a question before the coat is off. There may be a bag to bring in, a trash can to pull back from the curb, a message to answer, a face to soften for because home deserves more than the leftovers of a hard day. That is a lot to ask of one person, even when no one means to ask it. So the parked car becomes a narrow little room, a room with a steering wheel and dashboard light, a room where the street can still be heard, but from behind glass, a room where responsibility has not gone away, but it is stepped back just far enough for the body to notice the seat beneath it. The keys shift slightly in the hand. That small sound matters. It says the day is changing, even if the person has not changed with it yet. It says there is a door to enter when the minute is over. It says there has been effort, and arrival, and the quiet fact of making it back again. Not triumph. Just return. Sometimes, that is the part no one sees. The assistant manager does not only come home from work. They come home from holding a whole line of small pressures in place. They come home from being patient when patience was thin. From answering calmly when the mind was tired. From making sure other people could leave too. And then they sit in the driveway with the keys in their hand. For one extra minute, there is no need to become anyone else. No manager voice. No household voice. No quick adjustment of the face before stepping through the door. Only the soft click of the seatbelt loosening. Only the quiet after traffic. Only a person sitting still at the edge of home, feeling the day finally loosen enough to let the evening begin. The house is close, but the car still holds the last shape of the day. That is what makes the pause feel different from rest. Rest usually belongs somewhere with a chair, a couch, a light left on, a glass of water placed on a table. This is only a parked car in a driveway, close enough to home that the front door could be reached in a few steps. Still, for 1 minute, it becomes a room. The assistant manager sits there with the car keys in hand, and the metal edges press lightly into the palm. Not enough to hurt, just enough to be felt. The key ring has its own small weight, ordinary and familiar, the kind that disappears during the day because there is too much else to notice. At the store, keys may have meant opening a cabinet, checking a lock, getting into an office, closing something that needed to be closed. Here, they mean something softer. They mean arrival. They mean the car made it through traffic, past the brake lights and crowded lanes, past the last turn, past the part of the evening where everyone else seemed to be hurrying toward somewhere. They mean the driveway is under the tires. The house is there. The day has not been easy, but it has brought this person back to the edge of what is theirs. There is a kind of relief that does not smile. It only lowers the shoulders a little. The street outside keeps moving. Tires pass over pavement. A dog barks once from somewhere down the block. Maybe a garage door opens 2 houses away, or a teenager's car pulls in with music low behind closed windows. The neighborhood continues in its ordinary way, each house holding its own dinners, errands, arguments, homework, television sound, and small unfinished lives. No one on the street knows about this minute. That may be part of its kindness. A public day has ended. The name tag may already be off, or maybe it still rests near the collar. The store voice is fading. That careful tone used to answer questions, smooth over mistakes, keep things moving, make sure no one feels the weight of the tiredness underneath. The household voice has not arrived yet. Between those 2 voices, there is this quieter one. It does not have much to say. It only breathes. It lets the back rest against the seat. It lets the eyes look at the steering wheel, the dashboard, the porch, the small reflection of the house in the windshield. It lets the hand stay closed around the keys without needing to use them. Sometimes the most tender parts of the evening are the parts that do not last. A minute in the driveway, a soft click from the cooling engine, a thumb moving over the key fob, the slight mark of the seatbelt on a work shirt, the way traffic seems to leave the body in layers, not all at once. First the jaw loosens. Then the hands. Then something behind the ribs remembers there is no customer waiting, no employee asking, no register issue, no last-minute problem near closing. Only the driveway. Only the narrow space between outside responsibility and inside responsibility. The inside responsibility is real, too. It is not less important because it is loved. It is not lighter because it happens at home. There may be someone inside who needs dinner, or attention, or patience. There may be a partner who has also had a long day. There may be a child with a story that cannot wait. There may be an aging parent to call, a bill to check, a load of laundry that was supposed to be moved earlier. Love does not remove the weight. Sometimes it gives the weight a place to go. So the car becomes a small kindness before the door opens. Not an escape. Not refusal. Only a little space where the person who supports the whole household can arrive before being asked to give again. The keys rest there like a quiet permission. They do not say anything grand. They do not turn the evening into a lesson. They only sit in the hand, catching a little leftover light, while the body remembers that it has already done many things today. The seatbelt is loose now. Still, the person does not move right away. And in that not moving, something gentle happens. The day is not fixed. The work does not vanish. The house does not become suddenly easy. But the moment opens just enough to hold one ordinary mercy. The front door can wait for one more breath. By the third part of the evening, the pause begins to feel less like delay and more like a small room that was waiting inside the day. The assistant manager is still in the parked car. The seatbelt has been loosened, but the door has not opened yet. The keys are still in the hand. The thumb may rest against the worn edge of the fob, feeling the small buttons without pressing them. Lock, unlock. The little red panic button never touched. Outside, the street continues. A car moves past with its headlights already on, though the sky is not dark. Somewhere nearby, a trash bin scrapes against concrete. A door shuts. A voice carries for a second and then becomes part of the neighborhood again. None of it needs attention. That is the relief. For a whole workday, attention had been pulled from one thing to another. A customer waiting near the counter, an employee needing a decision, a phone ringing at the wrong time, a shelf that looked unfinished, a drawer that needed counting. The feeling of being the person people look toward when something small went wrong. It can be tiring to be useful. Not because usefulness is bad. Because it asks the body to stay ready. Ready to answer. Ready to smooth the moment over. Ready to notice what others missed. Ready to say it is fine, even when the mind has already gone quiet from too many small interruptions. Now the hands are still. The keys make no demand. The steering wheel does not need to be held. The road has already been driven. The last traffic light has already changed. The car is no longer a task, no longer a responsibility, no longer a way to get from one need to the next. It is just a small parked room. A little pocket of evening. Inside the house, there may be movement, a cabinet closing, water running, someone walking from one room to another. The sound is softened by the car windows, made distant enough that it does not yet become a question. The assistant manager hears it without entering it. There is something tender about being close to home and not quite inside. The house is not rejected, it is loved. It is where the good things are too. The faces, the routines, the shared food, the ordinary jokes, the chair that knows a tired body, the hallway light that means the day has made room for night. But love can still need a doorway. And sometimes the doorway begins before the door. It begins in the driveway, with the engine cooling and the keys held loosely. It begins in the one extra minute when the person does not have to bring a fixed face into the house. It begins with the quiet permission to be tired before being kind, to be silent before speaking, to arrive before giving. The street outside keeps moving, but the body does not. That contrast helps. The world can keep going without being held by this one pair of hands. Cars can pass, neighbors can come home, lights can come on, the evening can continue its ordinary business for 60 more seconds while someone sits very still with the keys in their palm. Nothing falls apart. That is not a lesson. It is only something the body notices. The pressure that lived in the shoulders all day may not disappear, but it can lower slightly. The chest may soften around a breath. The face may stop preparing itself. The hand around the keys may unclench enough for the metal to settle instead of press. And in that small loosening, gratitude stays almost unnamed. Not gratitude for the hard day. Not gratitude for having to be strong. Not gratitude that tries to dress tiredness in bright clothing. Only gratitude for this small mercy inside an ordinary room that is not quite a room. A driveway. A parked car. A ring of keys. A person between two responsibilities, allowed to belong to neither one for just a moment. Maybe that is enough for now. Not enough forever. Only enough for this minute, at the edge of the driveway, while the house waits close by and the street keeps moving without needing anything in return. There is a quieter layer of the evening that begins after the first relief is settled. The assistant manager has already stopped. The seatbelt is loose. The keys have shifted in the hand, no longer held with the same tightness. The street outside still has its ordinary movement, but it no longer feels like something pressing through the glass. The car is not running now. That changes the sound of everything. Without the engine, small noises become clearer. Tires on the road, a muffled voice from the sidewalk, the soft tick of the car cooling, maybe the distant clatter of a garbage can lid, maybe the almost hidden sound of the house itself, a door closing somewhere inside, water moving through pipes, a television low in another room. The world is still there, but it is farther away. For most of the day, there was no real distance between the person and the next thing. The morning may have started before the mind was ready. The store may have been busy before the coffee had worked its way through the body. There may have been a schedule to fix, a call to answer, a small complaint to carry with a calm face. Then came the closing. The last stretch of a workday can have its own strange weight. Everyone wants to leave. Everyone is tired. But the details still have to be done. Lights, locks, numbers, questions. One more check of something already checked. One more look behind, because being responsible means noticing even after the body wants to stop noticing. And then home asks for a different kind of noticing. Not worse. Just different. A person can love the household and still need 1 minute before stepping into it. A person can be grateful for the people inside and still sit in the car with their hand around the keys, letting the silence gather. These things can live beside each other without canceling each other out. That may be why this moment feels so human. It does not ask the tiredness to become pretty. It does not ask love to become easy. It lets both be true in the same small space. The driveway holds the car. The car holds the person. The person holds the keys. For once, nothing has to be arranged more neatly than that. The keys are such a small object, but they understand the shape of a day. They go where the person goes. They are dropped into a pocket, set on a counter, found at the bottom of a bag, held between fingers while someone checks whether the door actually locked. They are touched without ceremony. Again and again. At work, at home, in parking lots, at the edge of errands, in the dark beside the front door. They carry the feeling of leaving and returning so often that no one thinks to thank them. They are just there, cold or warm depending on the weather, making a tiny sound against each other. Tonight, in the parked car, they become enough to notice. The metal rests against the palm. The fob is smooth in some places and worn in others. Maybe there is a house key, a car key, a little store key, a plastic tag from a grocery card, something that has hung there so long it is no longer seen. All of it gathered in one hand. All of it saying, quietly, that this person has places they are trusted to open. That trust can be heavy. It can also be a form of belonging. The assistant manager does not need to name it that way. There is no need to make the moment larger. The body may only understand it as a small easing in the hand, a breath that arrives less sharply, a feeling that the evening has not rushed all the way past them. Inside the house, life is waiting in its unfinished way. Not a perfect welcome. A real one. Maybe a counter with things on it. Maybe shoes near the door. Maybe someone calling from another room soon after the door opens. Maybe dinner still undecided. Maybe love mixed with noise, need, mess, warmth, and the ordinary little demands that make a household alive. The person will go in. Not because the pause solved anything. Because the pause gave the person back to themselves for 1 minute before they were given again to the house. The keys turn slightly in the hand. The quiet stays. And for a breath, the parked car at the edge of the driveway feels like the smallest room in the home, the one no one talks about, the one that exists only long enough for a tired person to remember they have arrived. By now, the extra minute is almost over. Not because anyone has decided that it has to be. Not because the quiet has run out. Only because the evening keeps leaning forward in its ordinary way, and the house remains there, close and real, with its lights and rooms and people and unfinished things. The assistant manager still sits at the edge of the driveway. The keys are warmer now from being held. That is a small thing, but the body can know small things before the mind finds words for them. The metal that came from a pocket, from a workday, from a long drive through traffic, has taken on the warmth of the hand. The object has not changed. It is still only a ring of keys, but for a moment, it feels less like something used to lock and unlock, and more like something that has kept company through the crossing. From store to car. From road to driveway. From one responsibility to the next. There is a tenderness in that, but it stays quiet. The person does not need to make a speech inside their own mind. The day does not need to be reviewed. There is no need to count every tired part, every patient answer, every small decision that had to be made under fluorescent lights while the evening was already gathering outside. Some things are allowed to remain unlisted. They were still carried. The street keeps moving beyond the windshield. A car slows near the corner. Headlights pass over the dashboard and then slide away. The neighborhood is entering that hour when people come home in pieces, one driveway at a time, each person carrying a version of the day no one else can fully see. A garage door hums somewhere nearby. Then stops. The sound disappears into the evening as if it was never separate from it. The quiet returns, not complete, but soft enough. The kind of quiet that still has distant traffic in it. The kind that still has a house waiting behind it. The kind that does not ask to be perfect before it can be felt. Inside the car, the person breathes. Maybe the shoulders lower one more time. Maybe the hand finally opens around the keys. Maybe the thumb moves across the edge of the fob again, slowly, without needing to press anything. The seatbelt is already loose, but the body is only now beginning to believe it. The workday is over. The household day is about to begin again. Between them, this small space has done what it could. It has not erased the bills on the counter or the dinner question or the tired faces waiting inside. It has not made the assistant manager less needed. It has not turned responsibility into something light. It has only held the person for a minute. Sometimes that is the mercy. Not a large rescue. Not a change big enough to explain. Just a pause that keeps one person from walking straight from being used all day into being needed all evening without first touching some quiet place inside themselves. The keys make a soft sound as they settle against the palm. It is almost nothing. Still, the sound belongs to home. It belongs to arrival. It belongs to all the ordinary thresholds a person crosses without being celebrated. The store door locked behind them. The car door soon opening. The front door waiting close by. Each one marking a change that is easy to miss because life keeps asking for the next thing. At the edge of the driveway, the person does not miss it. Not completely. For one breath, they notice. The house may not be silent. It may not be ready. It may not offer the clean, gentle evening a tired person sometimes imagines on the drive home. But it is there. The people are there. The life that has been supported all day, in small hidden ways, is there. And the person is here. That is enough to begin with. The hand closes around the keys once more, but more loosely now. The face does not have to be fixed all the way before the door opens. The tiredness does not have to vanish at the threshold. It can come inside gently, without taking over the room. The car door will open soon. Shoes will touch the driveway. The keys will move toward the front door. The person will cross the few steps between the parked car and the house, carrying not only the day, but also this one quiet minute inside it. A minute no one saw. A minute that may not be remembered clearly later. But something of it remains in the hand, in the breath, in the small relief of the keys, warm now, resting against the palm before the evening begins again. The car door opens quietly. The driveway is only a few steps wide, but tonight it feels like a crossing. The keys rest in the hand with their small familiar weight. The street keeps moving behind the shoulder. The house waits ahead with its unfinished sounds. Nothing has become simple. Still, something has softened. The assistant manager steps out carrying the day, but not quite as tightly as before. The seatbelt mark will fade from the shirt. The car will cool in the driveway. The keys will find the front door, then maybe the hook, the counter, the place where they always land. And that one extra minute will stay mostly unseen. But it has already done its quiet work. It gave the evening a little space before asking anything more. It let a tired person arrive. Not perfectly. Just home.